welcome. We are currently live right now, and you are listening to Real Talk with Matt and
Carrie.
Babe, you look so pretty today.
Thanks.
I especially love that little, is it a top knot?
It's just a little bun.
A little bun. I like when you do the big buns.
You know, I did a big bun last week, and my head hurt for 3 days.
Well, it's true.
It was bruised, I think.
I like big buns.
And you cannot lie.
And I cannot lie. You know, some other brothers,
they can deny.
But anyway.
That's where you got to draw the line.
I got to draw the line. I got to stop right there. Hey, guys, if you're joining us live right now, go ahead and like and share this video. If you're joining us later, be sure to like our page to stay up to date with everything that we're doing, the conversations that we're having, the real talk that's going on, and of course, you know, subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah, and we'd love to hear from you, what you want to hear about, or what you want us to talk about.
We want to hear what you want to talk about.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
That's good.
Talk about that.
Well, we want to talk about what people want to hear about. So
yeah,
we need you to let us know.
Please let us know. What would you like to hear us talk about, okay?
Yeah.
Again, we do not consider ourselves experts, but we do have some experiences in life, okay? If you don't know what experiences we have been married for almost 20 years.
Yep, almost 20 years.
Almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Last week, we have officially been parenting for 17 years. And we've also been leading in church life specifically for nearly 20 years as well.
You know, babe, I was thinking,
it's a big deal.
We had some friends talking about their anniversary and doing like year 1 is this, I don't even know what they are, but they were saying like year 5 is wood. And we never did that. We never gave each other gifts based on which anniversary, mostly because we didn't have any money.
Yeah.
But also, I wanted to let you know that the 20-year anniversary gift is actually vacationing in Hawaii. So just in case you were wondering,
that's not real.
Hawaii is for the 20th anniversary.
Can somebody look that up and see what the 20-year gift is? Because I just
Hawaii.
I do not believe.
Hawaii. That's what it is. I believe it. Babe, what are we talking about today?
Babe, you know what?
Maybe we should have called this Real Talk with Babe.
Yeah, we could have. We could have absolutely done that. But here's the deal. Here's what we're going to talk about today, because something that we do twice a year, and we do it within the life of our church, is we fast, okay? We do fasting and prayer specifically. And so we were talking about that because we kicked off our fast 21 days yesterday. And so as we were talking about fasting, as we were talking about prayer, we were kind of thinking about, okay, what would we talk about on this podcast specifically today? And the question came up because from the very first fast you did, the very first fast you did?
Yeah, the very first fast.
Talk about it. What's the question?
So, okay, when I was, what would I have been, 19?
Yeah.
I really, really, really wanted to get married.
No 19-year-olds out there want to get married.
And I felt like I was ready. I
You
didn't know anything yet.
You were ready.
But I decided that I was going to fast for 40 days. And I told the Lord, I'm going to fast for 40 days. And at the end of this 40 days, I want to know who I'm going to marry. I was pretty bold when I was 19, apparently. Yeah. And I thought I was much more ready than I actually was.
Yeah.
But so I decided to fast sugar. It was the first time I'd ever done that. So I cut out all sugar for 40 days, okay?
Talk about sugar, because it's not like...
It wasn't just sweets.
Not
it was
natural
like,
sugar.
No, it was like any added sugar, okay? So I did this fast, and I was praying about it. And at the beginning of this fast, I really didn't like you at all. You know that already, right? So I didn't like him. And throughout the course, we didn't like each other. I even told him, he told somebody that he was going to marry me. You did tell somebody that. And I said to you, I was in Singapore. And I was
remember.
on the phone, and I said,
You called me from Singapore. That's how
"Don't
much you missed me.
ever tell anybody that we're going to get married."
Hold on, time out. Let's think about this. She was literally on the other side of the world and called me. I've never thought about this until right now.
I was so angry.
You
that
called
had
me
said
from
that.
Singapore
I know, I don't
to tell
remember.
me you hated
I was
me.
probably telling you guys to do something. I was his
That's
boss
the stupidest
at
thing
the
I've ever
time.
heard.
Anyways, so
I literally have never thought about that until this moment.
I remember we were in this apartment in Singapore, and I was like, "Don't ever tell people that." Anyways, so
And I was just like, okay, girl.
okay, girl.
Subconsciously thinking, you're calling me from Singapore. We're about to live the rest of our lives together.
But throughout
Anyway.
the course of this fast, I started to develop some feelings for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I told my mom, I was like, I think I like someone I shouldn't like. But I was fasting about it. And then literally, I think the day my fast ended, it was December 15th. You asked me out on a date.
Yeah,
and
it
I
was.
said yes. And then we went to our first date, and I said, "What are your intentions? I want to get married."
Well, that's more that's for another time. We'll
I
talk
had
about
some
that
serious issues.
at another time. We'll talk about the first date another time. But I want to address something
Okay.
real quick, because it kind of, like, if you're not familiar with fasting, you might have heard it from this lens, through this lens or filter of, you fast to get what you want.
Right.
You don't fast to get what you want. You fast to really be okay with what it is that God wants.
Yeah.
It's really.
And what he did really was open my eyes to an opportunity that
That
I
you
had
wouldn't have
closed
seen
off
otherwise,
to.
yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it was really aligning myself with his will.
Yeah.
But it started us thinking about,
Yeah.
is there one person for everyone?
Is there only
Is there
one
only
person for
one
everyone?
person? And what if you miss it?
And so we started to have this
Yeah.
conversation, like, what do we believe
Yeah.
about, is there only one person
Yeah.
for everyone? And so we want to talk
Yeah,
about
we
that
wanna
today.
talk about that.
So,
So I think there's two ways to think about this. Number one, if you aren't married yet, I know I've had people say, I don't want to pick the wrong person, or I don't want to, how do
Which
I
you
know if
certainly
I find
don't
the
wanna
right
pick the wrong
No,
person.
you don't. What are some signs that it might be the wrong person?
well, so ours are going to be a little bit like, they're going to be biased toward, people who are believers.
Right.
So, because we're pastors, if you don't know that, we pastor a church in Lincoln, Nebraska. So everything we do is going to be through the lens and the filter of the Bible, of, what we believe God would say to us. So the first thing that we always say to look for is somebody who loves Jesus more than
Right.
they love you.
Yeah.
Because if they don't love Jesus more than they love you, when things get bad, well,
It's trouble.
It's trouble, and we've got talks on that. So
Yeah.
if you want
Well,
to know
one
more
of the
about that, we
things
can talk about
with
that.
With that, I always say, if you can find somebody who hears the voice of God and obeys,
Yeah,
that is because you and I were not perfect when we got married. We made a lot of mistakes and continue to make mistakes. But one thing I know about you is that you hear the voice of God and you obey.
well, I do. Yeah,
And eventually.
eventually.
And so I can trust God that he's going to do in you what he needs to do in you, and I don't have to be worried about it. But if you were a person who didn't listen to the voice of God, didn't value time in God's presence, then you might not be the right guy.
Sure.
And I might not be the right girl if that was me. But,
Right.
but if you're not married yet, you have a choice. Another thing we always look at is, do you make each other better?
Do you make each other better? This is a big one, because a lot of times there are people who say they love Jesus, but they don't make each other better. Like,
Right.
instead of pushing you toward your purpose, you pull somebody away from your purpose. For instance, like, you shouldn't stop pursuing what God placed in your heart to pursue in order to pursue another person.
Yeah.
You should complement one another, come alongside one another, make each other better, and really celebrate.
Yeah.
Celebrate
One another.
And your unique giftedness and purpose.
And this is one that's not popular in our culture,
Uh-oh.
but you shouldn't compromise your purity. I'll just let that sit there for a minute.
You should not, say that again.
You shouldn't compromise your purity in relationships.
But what about the person that says, well, we're gonna get married?
Well, then go ahead and get married.
Oh, okay. I thought you. Okay. So
Go ahead and get married.
Go ahead and get
I
married.
mean, the thing is, and we need to talk about what the act of intimacy and being together, what that actually is.
There's another podcast idea.
Yeah, we got to do that one, because understanding the way that God designed sex is really important. And I think if you understood it, you'd be more valuable, you'd value it more.
And it would be, honestly, your sex would be better,
Yeah.
too.
So we need to talk
We
about
should
that.
talk more about sex. I love talking about sex.
I feel like it always comes up somehow.
Why wouldn't it?
You know, one thing I do want to address, though, this is kind of funny.
Yeah.
I remember when I was not dating yet, but I was really trying to pursue somebody that God had. I was like, God, who is it? And I was so afraid God was going to make me marry someone that was gross. And
Lo and behold.
you didn't really have to deal with this, because you were dating someone right before we started dating.
We're not talking about that.
Just saying. But I was single for a while.
Have you guys noticed how often she throws me under the bus?
I love you.
Okay.
Okay. But it wasn't a knock. You
No,
were.
no,
And
fair
so
enough,
I was
fair enough,
single
fair enough.
for a while. And so I remember when I was in Scotland, I don't think I saw one attractive person when I lived there. And that was single, like a single guy, you know?
Okay,
And I
okay.
was like, oh, don't let it be that guy. Don't let it be. God's not going to make you marry someone that you're not attracted to. So while we're talking about, like, hey, do they love the Lord? Do you make each other better? I mean, you're also going to be attracted to that person. That's a big deal.
Is this you telling me you're attracted to me?
Well, you've grown on me.
I literally have never heard this. This is awesome. This is awesome.
You're so crazy. Okay.
I can't
so
believe it.
what if you are married
Okay.
and you're afraid you married the wrong one? What would you say?
Well, here's what we tell people all the time. We always tell people, don't worry so much about whether or not you married the right one as you worry about you being the right one.
Right.
And so our encouragement, because we've counseled many couples over the years who feel like, I think I missed it. I think I married the wrong person.
Right.
I don't know that you necessarily did marry the wrong person, as much as your focus should be not, did I marry the right person, as it should be, let me become the right person. Is that fair?
Well, and also,
I think that's what we would say to people.
And I think we would say, hey, if you're married, that's the one.
Absolutely.
Because you're in covenant relationship with one
Yeah.
another, and that's a big deal.
And there's opportunity for God to restore and redeem and make all things right. When, like you said, when we got married, we were not perfect, and we still aren't.
no.
We're still becoming more and more every day.
Yeah.
But it's really that idea of, I got to become who I'm called to
Right.
be. You become who you're called to be. And you can't fix me, and I can't fix you.
That's hard too. I know that you and I have both met with a lot of couples and really individuals who are so frustrated with their spouse.
Sure.
And a lot of times, and especially in the church, it's because one member of the couple,
It's usually the men.
it isn't.
It's usually the men, right?
Isn't really pursuing the Lord or pursuing a relationship, and the wife is like, how do I get him in? How do I get him involved? And this sounds so cliche, but man, if you can pray for your spouse every
Yeah.
day, God will change their heart. We
Well-
can trust God to do the work of
And
changing your spouse, because guess what?
honestly-
It's not your job.
And honestly, it was your prayers that really did a lot of work in me, because
Well,
I
yeah.
wasn't always motivated. I wasn't always pursuing purpose.
Right.
There were a lot of years that you spent really frustrated and worried. Okay, did I marry the right guy?
Right.
You've asked that question before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did I marry the right person? God, is this really what you had for me? And really had some questions. And
Right.
so, I mean, it's not just like you look at some marriages and you think, oh, they got it going on. But it didn't always go there.
No.
It didn't start there,
And I
right?
nagged you for a long time.
You were a nag girl.
I
Oh
was.
my
I used to
gosh.
say, did you pray today? Did you read your Bible
And
today?
I used to say, shut up.
Yeah, I mean, it just didn't help anything.
No, it didn't help a thing.
But when I started praying about it instead of nagging about it, it really made a big deal. But it's because when you pray for your spouse,
Yeah.
you're praying covenantal prayers.
Absolutely.
Like prayers that are founded and based in covenant. And so that matters to God.
Yeah.
And so I just think that is something that is so important to remember, that it's not my job to fix you. It's not
Yeah.
your job to fix me.
That's right.
But when we can focus on ourselves.
It's my job, it's my responsibility to focus on me, okay? And at the end of the day, like, I say that in marriage counseling sometimes, and guys are like, yeah, it's my job and my responsibility to focus on me. And I would challenge you, man up and be honest about it, okay? Don't use that as a cop-out so that your wife, stops nagging. No, you be man enough to step up and really take responsibility for your own soul and do your part.
Yeah, and we just had a question.
We love you. That's my challenge.
We just had a question. Did you tell him that you were praying for him, or did he know, or was it just between you and God? And really, it was just, I don't think I really told you a lot that I was praying for you to get it together.
No. I mean, essentially, that's what you're praying about.
I was praying, but I was also trying to encourage you and affirm you in what you were called to do and who you are. I know there were times, and we've told the stories before, but I would say, hey, that's old Matt. Like, that's not who you are anymore. Like, I know that there's more in you than that. And it was in the right timing. You know what I mean?
But we do that for each other as well.
Yeah.
You know, it really does go both ways.
Well, and I've had seasons where I'm not at my best.
Yeah.
And you challenge me a lot verbally. I mean, I'm sure you're praying for me as well, but, also saying, hey, what's going on? And communicating. We go back to that every podcast, every single one. It's the key. But really trusting God with one another. I think
so we're getting into a lot of stuff. We love the questions, and if you've got questions, throw them our way. But we want to answer the question, and we want to talk about for just a minute what we really believe about, is there only one for everyone? So
I believe that when you're pursuing God and when you're looking for his best, I think he has one person for you. I do. Do you believe that? You don't believe that?
I believe that when you're pursuing God and you're going after his best, that he will show you the one. But I do think, here's the thing, I think that in different seasons of your life, it's not like, hey man, you really screwed up in that season, and so and you came across the one and you missed it, so you're done.
Right. No, I agree. Yeah, you're right.
Like you're done. Or
because God's a redeemer.
if you chose to get married in a certain season of life where maybe you weren't pursuing the Lord, and you think, oh my gosh, was that not the one? No, if you're married now, that's the one.
Right.
But also, I don't think that God redeems all things. He really does. And so I think that
I think you can have any marriage be healthy and strong, and you can accomplish what God's called you to do in that marriage because God redeems.
Yeah.
And even if you got married totally not living for the Lord, met in crazy places, did crazy things, and then landed in church and trying to move forward together, I think God blesses that.
Absolutely.
Because it's still a covenant. It's still a relationship.
And here's the bottom line. If you're listening to this, watching this, and you're wondering, oh my gosh, I wanna marry the one. I don't want to miss it. Listen, I think just by way of the fact that you're considering, I don't want to miss it.
Yeah.
I think God's grace is on your life.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think you want to look at a couple of things. Does this person love the Lord more than they love me? Are they interested in pursuing purpose alongside me? And do they make me better?
Yeah.
I think that's the bottom line. Like, do I laugh more when I'm with them? Do I feel like, do I feel encouraged when I'm with them? Do I feel safe? Yeah, like we've seen some people think, oh, well, God put us together, and even though we don't like each other, no, that's not going to happen,
or we
guys.
really are miserable. Hey, let's get things together. I think that's it. And I think that the bottom line is the Lord redeems our relationships. And so whether you aren't married yet or whether you are, trust the Lord to provide the right person, the right relationship, and to do his work in yourself and the people that you're in relationship with.
I think that's beautiful. And I think that when you do that, we believe firmly that that God will bring the one that you're supposed to be with for the rest of your life. The teaching that I lay out for our kids when we've talked to them about sex and marriage and relationships is in Genesis, and it's one wife for life, okay?
One wife for life.
As a man, I'm called to have one wife for life, okay? And so I guess that opens a whole nother can of worms. Like,
What if I died?
What if I'm divorced?
Yeah. What if
You
you get
know?
divorced?
And
But that's the God is a
God
redeemer.
redeems,
He redeems
all things,
Yeah.
guys. There's grace that covers a
Yep.
multitude of sin, shortcomings, and failures. So what we want you to do is lean into that relationship and realize that the person that you are married to, if you're a man, the woman you're married to, if you're a woman, the man that you're married to, that is your one.
The one.
That's your one.
That's it.
And that's it.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely, guys. Listen, the real deal with this podcast is Carrie needed to reveal the fact that she was in love with me even when she went to Singapore. That's what I learned today.
I wasn't in love
Yes,
with you.
you were. Babe, you called me from Singapore. How many other spouses out there can say, I called my future spouse
I think
from
I was
Singapore?
bringing correction.
There you have it, folks. That is marriage at its finest. Guys, listen, thanks for joining us. This has been Real Talk with Matt and
Carrie.
we'll see you next week.